And the final game for this episode that we're going to talk about is Crusaders.
It's designed by Seth Jaffee. The artist is Adam P. McIver, and it's published by Tasty Minstrel Games.
What was the last?
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
Yes.
Yeah, if you search for it on BGG, you have to type that in.
Right. Well, I'm just going to start off and say that I don't like subtitles in games. Anyway, moving on. So
I thought it was unnecessary too.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
I didn't even know it had a subtitle.
Oh yeah, that's small.
That's why I looked it up. Yeah, like after we played it.
Oh.
It was tricky to look it up, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on the front of the box, but I mean, Crusaders is much bigger.
Right.
And if you type in Crusaders, nothing.
Too
I
many
think
games.
yeah, there is a lot of games if you type in Crusaders.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, we'll talk about the actual game. If you're worried about the theme, it is just there.
Oh yeah, right. Well, which
you
actually
don't feel like a crusader in
No.
any sense of the word.
No.
So just keep that in mind. It is literally an abstract game. All right, so to quickly go over the rules real quick, or give you a sense of how it plays, basically it's a game where you're going to play a random length amount of time until a pile of victory points have been taken. And that's going to trigger the end game. And then after the end of the round, after everybody's had the same amount of turns, then you count up victory points. Whoever has the most will win the game. That pile isn't limiting. It's just a threshold to trigger the end game. There's a couple of elements to this game. The easiest way to describe it is by referencing other games, but if you're not familiar, I'll kind of explain it. So you have a main board, or you have a player board in front of you. On the left-hand side of this player board is this rondelle that kind of looks like a pizza. It's sliced up into 6 pieces. And each one represents an action. There's 5 unique actions. There's 2 of the movement one. So you have 6 total actions that you can take. When you take an action, you're literally going to take all the action cubes from one slice, do whatever action it is, pretty much however many times that slice had action cubes on it. Then you're going to redistribute those in clockwise fashion around on the other pieces. So if you're familiar with a Trajan, it's kind of like that. If you're not, and you're familiar with how the stuff works, the Mancala aspect in 5 Tribes, it's kind of like that. You pick up the pieces and you start putting them on the other tiles around it or whatever. And on the right-hand side of your board, there are a bunch of buildings, similar to how a layout is in Terra Mystica. So you have all these buildings, and you want to put those out on the main board because as they get uncovered, as they get removed from your board, they uncover symbols that will give you bonuses for the actions, or maybe bonus money, or bonus combat points, etc. And the reason you're doing all this is because the main board is like a map of Europe, or a section of Europe or whatever, and it's got a bunch of hexagon areas, and those are the spots you're going to move around on. You have a knight that starts out there. You can get more by building castles, etc. And you're going to move around and try to build your buildings on these different spots. Every spot can only have 1 building from any player, and some of those spots are actually protected by different armies. Do you remember what the armies are?
What the armies are?
The names of them?
Oh,
The Saccharins and
the Saracens, that's one. The Prussians.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's
and there's one more.
gray, red, and yellow or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a history major anyway, so I can't even just make it up. So anyway, there's 3 different armies that you can fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2 of the armies will start off at a low strength value of 3, and as you beat them, Matt's gonna look it up. Good.
It's Saxons and what? It's the other one.
Is it Saxons?
No.
Oh,
Saracens.
Saracens.
I thought there was another one that always went with Saxons.
Picks?
No.
No.
I'll look it up.
This is the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Matt's gonna look it up. But
man, what was it?
anyway, so two of the factions start with a low value, and as a token of their faction gets destroyed, then it raises their strength. So for any player who fights the next one of that color, it'll be the next strength value, and so on and so forth. The Saracens, which I believe the red ones, they're always strength of 6, and you don't really get victory points for killing them like you do the other ones. But when you kill them, you get a bonus of building a building for free of whatever one is depicted on that token. So just to kind of go over the 5 actions real quick, 1 action will allow you to move. And for every action point that was on there, you get to get basically 1 movement. So you can move 1 knight multiple times, or you can move all your knights once each, or whatever you want to do. You can split it up how you choose.
Slavs.
Slavs.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's a guess.
I think that's it.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that sounds right.
Well, anyway, so
Sorry to interrupt.
the only other stipulation with movement is if you're moving off of an area that had an army that you don't want to fight, it costs you 2 movement. So there is a way to like slow people down because those spaces will actually have building tiles on it that will give you bonuses if you build specific buildings there. So it might give you an extra victory point if you build a castle, or it might make your churches actually cheaper to build in that location. So some people might want to rush to the specific spots where it's best reflecting their strategy they're trying to employ. The next action you could possibly do is build, which we just talked about. Basically, each building on your board will actually cost so many points, action points to build it. Sometimes building stuff will give you discounts on other buildings or whatever. There is the fight one. It's simple, basically. Crusade, yeah. Basically, if you have enough points, you fight the thing, it dies. You get victory points equal to the strength value that it was. There is muster. Muster is basically, you've got these troop tokens. They start off as a flag that you have to pay points to flip them over, and they all just give you +1 to your combat. There is influence, which is basically the victory points of the game. You just straight up get victory points, and I believe that was the last action. Yeah. And then that's pretty much the game. You are trying to move around and build buildings. The buildings will enhance your action. Oh, there's one last thing. All your spots of your actions can be upgraded. So if you choose to like basically forfeit your turn, you get to take any one of your past slices of actions and flip them over, and it'll give you a second icon for that action.
They're all predetermined.
It's all predetermined. You know what it is because it's printed on there. If you flip this over, you're also going to get this action. And that means when you activate that pie slice, you get to choose how many points go to what action. I mean, like, so
you
if it's like,
split them up.
you can split them up however you want. Right. So that's pretty much the game. Once the victory point pile that is determined by the player count runs out, then you play till the end of the round, and then you count up points. Points are mostly already gathered throughout the game. There's some other things that you gather at the end, but there's a couple of different in-game scoring if you've built all of one building. So if you build all your churches, there's a like in-game scoring thing for that. So, for instance, the castle, when you build all your castles, the in-game scoring is a set bonus. So if you've gotten one of each of the bad guys, then you get, I shouldn't say bad guys because history people might say otherwise, but one of each of the armies that are out there.
Are the Crusaders the bad guys?
Right.
Yes.
So if you get like one of all the different.
Depends on who you are.
Right. So if you get one of, basically it's set bonuses for collecting all the different armies. So that's it. Eric, let's start with you.
All right. Well, starting with the box art, I love the box art. I think it looks great. I almost want to just get it and put it on my shelf. But besides that,
it is attractive. Can I jump in on
sure,
the box art?
Yeah.
But it's really disconsonant with the actual game.
Right. It is very light. You know, you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to go and become a Crusader and do all these battles, but you're not going to really get that in the game. And
on the cover, there's like a river of blood coming out of a sword stuck in the ground, and there's no river of blood in this game.
No. It's very, very abstract.
I'll say
or
that
Euro, not abstract. Really, but maybe Euro.
I would think the majority of board games don't really describe the game on the cover, though.
Oh, well, that's true.
Right.
But you're looking at that thinking, oh, this is a war game.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
kick
his butt.
That is a better thing to say. Yeah, it is absolutely not a war game.
And
There's literally no player interaction.
Yeah, you're not fighting each other.
You can't.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, there is no fighting each other. You are fighting each other like Ticket to Ride style. You're trying to get somewhere, get a building. Or something.
I'm going there first, and it just happened to mess you up.
Yeah,
and even that rarely happens.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's not going to happen too often. It could happen.
Yeah, it's really just a race of efficiency.
Right.
Crusaders, thy race be run.
Right. So I would say the actions are pretty simple. Like you said, there was 5 actions or whatever. So I believe it is possibly even geared towards newer gamers that could get into it. You know, there's not a lot you have to really, ponder about. I don't think you're not going to have a lot of AP issues with it.
No, I thought the turns were really fast. And actually, unless somebody's doing a fight and calculating stuff or building, All the other actions are like super.
Yeah, if you're doing a crusade, you know beforehand. You know,
Yeah,
I'm gonna take off 5, and I have to beat a value of 5.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of cut and dry in that aspect of it. I do like the rondelle system. I kind of like, working that out, and it's like, all right, I'm going to do this action and move all these cubes over here, and then do this action. That's going to give me 5 cubes over here to do this action.
You're definitely trying to plan like 3 turns ahead.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. We're trying to. I'm not saying you can, because somebody might go and fight the guy that you're just trying to, gear up to do.
Right. And at times, it's just obvious what your best move is. So sometimes you don't take your best move and you plan ahead by not doing that.
Yes.
But still, it just sometimes seems like, well, I really just should do this because that's where all my cubes are.
Yeah, and that is one of the bad parts of this kind of rondelle. You are placing cubes on all the slices, and you might not need to move anymore.
Well, but to add on to that,
all your things are on one slice.
To add on to that, at the beginning of the game, you do pick from one of 2 of the Crusader dudes who give you like a special power.
Right, and I was actually gonna,
and some of those will change like your strategy, I think, pretty well.
Massive, yeah.
And that's what I was gonna add. Because they do have the different player powers, I think that will add a lot of replayability. But without having those player powers, I think it would kind of get samey. You're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But that might change the game up for you every time you play, if you play with a different.
Oh yeah, some of them are pretty dramatic. Like one of them allows you to like place 2 cubes on a spot when you're pushing it around, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be a dramatic difference.
Right, it's going to change how you play throughout. So
right, yeah. Matt, did you check this one out?
Yes.
What'd you think of it?
It was interesting. So I'm sitting there watching it. The rondelle is interesting. The Mancala aspect is all that's neat, and then they show the board, and it's like, dudes on a map or something. What's going on here?
Right.
Everything looks like a war game then.
Yeah.
Everything in this looks like a war game.
The ocean is red.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the
Dope.
board.
I didn't even notice that.
Dope.
Yeah.
The box art is nice, but this board is hideous.
Hey, the Crusades were not a pleasant time.
I mean, maybe they were trying to keep it bland for the time period. I don't know, but
you probably don't want it too busy.
Yeah. But
there's not a lot of Euro style games that are like bright and vibrant.
They tried their best. I mean, red and yellow hex overlay. I mean, red and yellow, that's pretty vibrant.
Yeah.
It's better than brown and tan.
But I get what you're saying. You're saying it looks dated, like the graphic design is poor.
Yeah, it didn't pop at all. But then like you'd see the player board again, and like the knights are cool, and like their player abilities are neat, and then I'd see that board again. It's like, I don't know, man.
Doesn't inspire you.
Yeah, it doesn't make me want to play this.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Ultimately, it does sound pretty neat though. And the playtime's pretty short from what I'm hearing.
Right.
Will it take us like an hour?
Yeah.
Hour tops.
I mean that piques my interest a little bit. That it is
if
kind
we
of a
played
quick
it
game.
again, dude, 45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm hearing most people say it's 45 to an hour. So it sounds like it's a fairly quick game. Like I said, man, the player abilities seem really neat. The fact that you can have different ones, and you're kind of like got your own little player board that has got your own thing going on. There's multiple ways to win, from what I understand. So I don't know. It's interesting, but that board, I don't know.
What you think, George?
I'm really torn on this one. The positives that we've mentioned so far, I agree with all of those, and it has a very easy play style. I think it's practically a gateway. I like Mancalas. That a Mancalized rondelle is just a really nice thing to have in a game. I enjoy that, and I also really like the fact that you use the piece, the wedge that you pick up the pieces from is what you're actually doing. That's your action, not like Trajan where it's the one you end up on.
Right.
So you don't have to map all that out and think that hard.
Yeah, it's kind of like easy mode Trajan.
It's definitely easy mode. In Trajan, it takes forever because it's the one you end up on, so you have to look at every pile of pieces and say, where does that one end up? Oh, well, where does that one end up? Do I want that?
Right.
Where does that one end up? And this one, it's like, whichever one I grab, that's what I'm doing.
Right.
So it's
like,
super fast.
Right.
So it beats Trajan all ends up as far as that goes. But
as far as simplicity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
maybe
I like...
not as far as game. I don't know. I would have to play them more
I don't
closer
think so.
together.
I like all those aspects, but what I don't like is that it seems very samey, even with those replayability issues that aspects that could help out. It just seems like it'll everything you do gets points. Everything.
I did note on here it's kind of point salady, which is great.
No.
No, yeah.
That's not great. That makes it. There's no tension. There's no tension if everything you do gets points, and there's really no tension when nothing you do affects the other players all that much. Mm-hmm. So I like it for its simplicity and its ease of play, but I don't think it would have staying power with me.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's again, I can see that. Of
being
course,
an hour long, okay,
right?
I wouldn't turn it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it doesn't draw me in. I'd have to say.
I would say definitely if it didn't have the different player powers, it would be like, all right, I played this 2 or 3 times. Yeah. I got everything I would get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the player powers really do open up a lot of different ways of thinking, because you'll get 2 powers at the beginning, or I think you do, or at least we did it that way. Right. So if it's not like that, it is permanent like that for me now.
That's kind of a
it's
typical house rule.
Yeah, typical house rule. You don't just pass out cards; you let them choose if it's a player power at the beginning. Anyway,
yeah.
So you look at 2 and you're like for instance, mine I think where was 1 is like 1 gets upgraded, but I get an extra action marker, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's awesome. Mm-hmm. And the other one was you get to immediately upgrade 3 of your tiles, and then that's it. Which OP. I thought was fantastic. OP. It probably was.
Well, it saves you 3 turns, basically.
But that's a question. I mean, are those things actually balanced? And if the game is very much the same when you play it and you get points for doing everything, then are you really winning on your merits, or are you winning because you had the power that is just a little better?
Right.
Well, I don't know.
There's a question there.
It's interesting because I think a lot of the game is also trying to read the board to see like combos and what you can do. Like I focus straight up on doing churches because I started the game.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, I won.
Okay. It did work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't remember.
But it worked out because of this, because I flipped over the tiles, all 3 of them that gave you the second icon, which is influence.
Right.
So I knew that at any time I can do the influence action. I already looked at the board and said, when I build churches, it gives you bonus influence when you do the influence action.
Yeah.
And I ran around doing stuff like to build my church in a spot that gave me bonuses for building it in that spot. So like I would, and then next turn, if I needed cubes to go somewhere else, I would just do influence. I would get like, even if I got 2 cubes from it got 2 influence, I would end up getting 6 or 7 because of all the bonuses.
And can I just say, lame? Because when you have a game that lets you have as an action, just get points, do this and get points, that's kind of lame.
I think that is a lame option. Yes.
Yes.
The strategy that I did was chosen. Like I did it myself.
Yes,
so
I get that. It was a
I
good
chose
strategy.
to be lame the whole game,
and it won. And good job. But that's not an exciting option.
Right.
Just here.
Of course, if
I'm
you
just
get
gonna
it every
get
time,
points.
Like that is optimal strategy. This is what I'm going to do every time.
It doesn't feel Crusadery.
You couldn't do it every time.
Right, but you couldn't.
There's no way. No,
so that would be fine.
Because the only other way you can do it is if you picked another player power or whatever, and then spent like 3 turns upgrading all those tiles, and then start it. Like I just had the leg up to be able to do that specific strategy. I think everybody else is not going to do that strategy. I think the better strategy, other than that starting power, is to crusade as much as possible.
Well, I think those are the 2 strategies. Yeah.
I mean, it's fair, but I mean, the game it's small. There's only 5 actions, so 2 of the 5 actions being valid strategies is pretty good.
Yeah, and maybe,
and the third one you have to do because you have to move.
And I'm, possibly coming off as overly negative because it is a very pleasant game. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not that opposed to it. It's just those 2 strategies, and neither of them feeling real Crusadery, because even the Crusade option, you don't feel like you're actually doing a battle. It's just comparing numbers.
Yeah, they're not taking over lands or anything.
Well, if it's a Crusadery, then it would get into dicey territory. Convert, heathen.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as like war goes, it is very deterministic. I have the numbers, I win. Yeah. So, I don't know. I thought the game was really good, but I agree that staying power-wise, like I could probably play it a few times and then shelve it for a couple months or like even a year and then play it again. But
it's not objectionable.
Yeah, but it's such a short, and I felt like I was thinking the whole game, which I thought was awesome. Up until the end when I was doing the influence thing or whatever. But if I wasn't playing that character, and I'm sure you guys did, like you are kind of, you're thinking when it's not your turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and to add to that, it feels like you're thinking all the time because your turn comes around so quickly.
Oh yeah.
And that's a fantastic thing about the game.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, if you got really good at it and played it 3 or 4, maybe a dozen times, you could 30 minutes this game really easily.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing with people who really want to maximize. And so anyway, what is that? Is that phone? Move that.
You know better than that, Eric.
It won't pick up on the podcast, but like the whole time we're hearing this noise because the phone. But in case I don't cut this out, then people know that I'm not yelling at you for no reason. Yeah, because they're not going to hear that weird
static noise.
Yeah, you get like this real big static in there if it's near anything. But anyway, that's not have anything to do with Crusaders. So anyway, I like it. I'll probably pick this up, and this is a prime example of why Tabletop Simulator is awesome.
Let me ask you guys, as far as the moncalized rondelle that it has,
yeah,
and other games that have that, I wonder if you played, for example, Finca.
We played Trajan.
Okay, and Trajan, yeah.
That's pretty much the only...
Merlin was kind of rondelle-ish, almost.
He's
not
saying
the
the
same.
Mancala part.
Yeah,
of it.
not with the
Right.
Moncala, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you haven't played Finca.
No.
Okay, this is a very Finca-like game, actually, and Finca is kind of a classic. A lot of people really love it.
Oh.
And I can see a lot of the same kinds of things with this game. I'm kind of torn as to which of the two games I would prefer, to be honest.
Huh.
So
We'll have to try that out.
yeah. So it's got a lot going for it if I can compare it favorably to Finca, honestly. Another one is Theseus, The Dark Orbit.
That sounds like an awesome... Oh, you know, it's a very dark-looking game. It's a space game.
It is fantastic. I love that game.
Oh.
And the reason is the theme. The theme in that
was a
one
Kickstarter, right?
comes through in spades. No, that's what is it? Portal games.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And in that one you're having these space battles between aliens and marines, and it really comes through. Unlike
Crusaders could be you can throw any kind of really
you could be having a
on it.
space battle.
Right.
It wouldn't come through either.
Actually, to be honest, now that you said this, because I forgot to write this down, and I had thought about it between the time we played it and now, I kind of wish that it was called something else, and it was its own environment, and then the table was modular. Because then you could build it into different... Because like the one thing about the map was you went off into this area where you kind of like were there. We didn't even want to go over there because you took over that area.
Absolutely.
Because it was like off to the side. It was like a peninsula.
That's that's where
Ireland
Ireland
it wasn't
was.
Ireland? Okay, yeah. But if it was a modular board that had like some sort of random setup or whatever, then the game would be neat because then you can have holes in the middle that you have to go around. And I mean, it would be a little bit cooler aspect to moving around and doing stuff.
Okay, I absolutely agree with that. And it would make the movement abilities matter.
Yes, because eventually the movement, you have way too much movement for what you want to do. Which I guess you could just upgrade the tile and only do influence.
Right. Having extra movement didn't help.
Compared to those other powers, it seemed really weak.
Yeah. Or maybe be able to spin the movement to push somebody else's knight.
Or something.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
And I know you just bought Trajan or just acquired Trajan. Have you played it?
We played it.
I played Trajan.
Okay. Now, how do you feel comparing the two of these?
Trajan is about 300 million times better. But this game is great. I like this game. But Trajan is on its pedestal.
It's just much deeper.
Oh, it's so much deeper.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's biased because Stefan Feld is my favorite. So.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you that Trajan is better. And I don't even like Stefan Feld. So.
That's fair. It's weird because you brought up the point salad thing. I like the point salad thing. This actually fits a lot of the build that I like. I like games that are there's interaction, but it's indirect, and there's point salad. So it's like I feel like I'm trying to do my best, and no one can hold me down.
Right.
Is this a game that's screaming out for an expansion of some kind that?
Oh,
I could see an expansion.
Right. If it wouldn't add too much to the time, because that's the best thing about it right now.
Right.
Modular board.
Yeah, and a different combat system.
Wouldn't make any sense for Europe. But, it would be a cool aspect, because like I said, you can... Or just add an expansion that adds blank tiles, and you can just burn out areas to where you can't go through.
Yeah.
They're off limits and stuff.
And it would do away with the issue of the Crusades and who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. And I think in the game as it is, you're going up against the Prussians and the Slavs just so that you're not only killing one group, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, the theme doesn't even mean anything to me. It's pretty though. I like it, the art and stuff. Yeah. So in the box, I agree with you. The box is pretty dope.
It pops.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I'm gonna pick this one up. Any final thoughts for you guys?
I'll play it if you pick it up.
Fair enough.
Cool. I like it.
Matt?
For the king. I don't know.
Were you looking forward to playing it before and after?
I mean, if you busted it out, I'd be like, okay. I'm probably not going to ask you to bring it.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that is Crusaders. Thy Will Be Done.
That's right.
I got it right.